I'm just gonna go for it. Who knows? I'm just gonna go.
Hey everybody, Chris Schlarb here. My good friend Devin O'Brien with me, taking the necessary precautions. It's just a promotional event, and we don't want him to die.
Yes, gotta take the necessary
Hey
precautions.
everybody, Chris Schlarb here. So my record, Houses of the Holy, is out today, and we can't play shows and we can't do anything else. So here we are, live from Big Ego, basically where we made the record. So I love all those classic albums, documentaries, and I was just watching the Plastic Ono band one the other night just to prep myself. So I figured we've got the studio, we've got the board, we've got the files, we've got Devin.
We've got the topo.
We got the topo. We've got Matt and Tristan handling the live stream. Let's just go for it. And yeah, it's a strange thing to put a record out in the middle of a pandemic. These are not, regular everyday people problems. They're just whiny artist, problems. But, I figured this working on this record, for me, gave me a lot of comfort and in some ways kind of let me tune out the outside world, which is what music has done for me for a long time. And I figured, okay, folks have the records. I know we've sold at least a dozen albums, 12, maybe a baker's dozen. And perhaps all 12 or 13 of those people will be tuned in today and they can follow along on their own copy of Houses of the Holy. Woo! That's me. That's my guitar. Devin took this picture, and that's this here recording console, the Audient 4816. So it's a double record. I took over 4 bands, Cherry Glazerr, Chicago Underground Trio, Dream Syndicate, and Xololanxinxo. And we'll open this up because it's, you go through a lot of trouble to make a gatefold. My wife and I cut all the stuff out. She painted it. These are all Devin's photos from the sessions. And what I was thinking was we'll just we may not have time to go through every song. I know that these cameras are on batteries, and Matt and Tristan were telling me that they may run out of batteries at some point, so I'll try not to talk too much. But we'll do as much as we can. And I thought it would be fun to kind of go back into some of the tunes, play them back through the board, kind of solo out certain things, maybe try to get into some stories or talk about how some of this stuff happened, or maybe even listen to us talk shit, before or after a take, because that stuff is always, I always get a kick out of that. But anyway, yeah, this is it. If you don't have a copy of the record, maybe get out to a record store. Fingerprints here in Long Beach has some. Lots of great independent shops all over the country and in Europe. If you don't want to go outside, you can go to Bandcamp. It's just my last name, Schlarb, SCHLARB.bandcamp.com, and there's the record there, and Joyful Noise will send a copy out to you forthwith. We didn't have any time to prep this stuff, but I think we'll start with the Cherry Glazerr side. So this is side A. This was the easiest side to make. We did the whole thing in 24 hours. We drove out to Joshua Tree, rented a spot out there, and I think we started recording around, 1 or 2 in the morning. We got the whole studio set up out there in the living room, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think the first tune is One Solution that we cut. That's roll it back just a little bit before that, because I seem to remember Phil kind of talking
All right,
a little
let's
bit.
Check it out. More than that?
Maybe, yeah. Can you roll me back a little bit? This is the first tune we cut late at night. We were just kind of getting our bearings. Maybe had a little bit of whiskey or something.
After having had to we chased down the UPS truck,
Right.
USPS truck,
Yeah, it was a long day, man.
trying to find
You
our
always
last
forget-
bits of gear.
You always forget about all of that stuff. I think we had like a microphone in a fireplace. Here's Phil. Where's that? His violin, is that like the accordion track?
I think
Mando?
that's
There we go.
Mando fiddle. I don't know if we're gonna hear any of
I want to
Phil
hear
banter.
Phil talking smack. All right, here we go. Nope. Oh, this is If There's Kindness in the World.
Oh, that's why.
No, that's fine.
Well, that's okay.
So I think we double-tracked accordion on this one, which is kind of the almost pump organ-y sound. Devin, Givon playing bass. Obviously, we're cutting all this stuff together in the room. Clem and I cut all the vocals on one mic together. There.
If there's kindness in the world, I can't find it. If there's beauty to behold, I can't see. If there's kindness in the world, please remind it to pay a visit to me. Maybe it's just a mystery. Maybe I'm just a fool. Maybe happiness wasn't meant for me.
This is one of my favorite tunes I probably have ever written. It came super fast. Sort of the genesis of this song was I took my daughter Isabella. I never go to the mall, but it was like the holidays, and I took her to like South Bay Pavilion or some, I don't know,
The Carson Hall.
some place. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like Hawthorne, like there's that old Guitar Center across the street. Anyway, we were out like shopping for Christmas presents. It was just her and I. She was maybe 2 years old at the time. And I remember she just smiling at everybody and just so full of joy and love. Nobody smiling back at her. It was the most like depressing thing. I was just like, God, what's the matter with everybody? We came home. She went down for a nap. I wrote the song by the time she woke up.
If there's mercy in a moment, let it be.
I really wanted this first side, this side with Cherry Glazerr to feel like, to have that quality of those great old Neil Young sides, you know, where it just felt like everybody's in a space together. It's a little ragged. It's not perfect, but the vibe is right, you know. I think Dev brought, he had a Trident sidecar at the time. And I think we used like a Antelope Zen. That was the thing we were waiting for, which we'd never used before. So we were like,
how do we figure out the matrix?
I know. It was basically just like what's happening right now. Like, I just had to change a tape in the tape echo like 10 minutes before we went live. I was just like, great. Yeah, you can hear the bleed on there. It sounds like both accordions are on the one channel, I think.
Do you want me to separate
No,
it?
no, it's all right. Song's over. on the mix on the record though, those accordions are also, there's some of the reeds were jacked up, so it's a little out of tune, and it just created. It sounded like this old pump organ, and you kind of. It's one of the few overdubs we did on that whole side. Like almost everything was just track it next, you know. Let's roll back to One Solution. It might be the first. Now,
I see this bit.
This is like maybe the darkest or most darkly comic song on the record. The One Solution is, you know, suicide. But I remember when I started kind of like working on the lyrics, and I sent it over to Tabor. He was like, "Dude, this is hilarious," and I'm glad that it can have, you know, like a lot of things, like the funniest things or the saddest things, and vice versa. So. This is the one with Phil, a little Phil like banter just ahead of the tune.
And then I said "fuck" into the mic.
Did you really?
I mean, I played the wrong chord and then I said "fuck."
Okay, Clem too.
Did you hear that, Dax?
I thought it was you, but I think it's just because of the timing.
Okay. I would never say fuck. I've never said fuck in my life.
If my kids are watching this, I'm sorry.
That was great.
Your
was
dad
great,
is.
though. It had
The vibe
good
was,
feel, yeah.
the groove was there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the fuck is exactly what the song means.
it could be.
Over the
Isabella's
road
still in
chord.
school,
Yeah.
I think. 1, 2, 3.
One solution. One solution. There's just one solution that I know. I've got no love, no plans, and no future.
Here's our kick drum. It was panned hard left. That's an interesting mix choice. Tabor's overhead. We were just using 2 mics on that?
There's nothing
I love it.
for you.
Devin, always, man, could just always depend on him to play the perfect part with the perfect tone. It just like on every session, I just like never have to worry about it. Phil doing some double stops. Here's our room mic. That's like literally, you know, what's happening in this living room out in Joshua Tree. This is the only side that we cut somewhere else. So let's see. Clem and I on acoustic guitars. I love her. I love the verse that she wrote on this too. Phil's flow right here. Classic old time Phil playing like.
So why even try? Boy, I wanna die. One solution.
And at the moment, you know, effect-wise, we just have like tape echo happening. Maybe a little bit of played on something on accident.
One solution. One solution. There's just one solution that I know.
How about Let Me Comb Your Hair? So this is the tune that leads off the record, and this is one that I had, I don't know, I felt like, okay, we got some of these sadder, more, you know, lonesome, you know, desert kind of country folk songs. We need a couple of, like, you know, undeniable bangers that, you know, people be like, oh, okay, like they're just easy to get into. That was the other thing about this side on the album. It needed to be the easiest to get into, because when you're making a double album, you're kind of like asking a lot of the listener, especially in this day and age when people don't even buy regular albums. Why the hell would they buy a double album? You know what I mean? So the way that I thought about the architecture of the record was, these are the breadcrumbs, you know, and then by the time you get to the Dream Syndicate side or the Xololanxinxo side, which are much more dense and maybe more sonically challenging, a little bit further afield, that you would have already kind of accepted the agreement of the first two sides of the record as being so like easy to get into relatively. So I kind of just looked at them like breadcrumbs. And I think that I wanted the A and B sides to be not a self-contained thing, but like something where, you know, sometimes you just flip a record over, right? And you're just like, oh, well, I listened to that side, let me flip it over again. And I wanted the A and B sides and then the C and D sides to be those records where you could just flip them over and over again. So the you know, like I said, the architecture of putting this whole thing together required a lot of massaging, and you know, perhaps no individual thing is more important than like what you start the album with, and then what is the first song on the album. So the two kind of like more up tunes on the A side are Let Me Comb Your Hair and Conspiracy. And it's funny because, you know, we cut Conspiracy 2 years ago, and I mean, every time I turn on the news or listen to anything, like it's I mean, the subject matter of that song is like omnipresent. So anyway, let's see what Let Me Comb Your Hair sounds like. I know we've got all kinds of shit happening here. Phil's Whirly. Ooh, accordion. one channel of percussion. That was just Tabor and I and you maybe in the room.
Your head, I can make them all play now.
Oh yeah, the guitars are laying out in the verse.
Your head,
Forgot about that. Yeah, Phil's chewing the scenery.
you don't have to fight.
All right, I love the guitar part. So this is my fake like Rolling Stone thing right here. I feel like the beauty of this chord progression gets lost a little bit, you know, because you should be listening to the vocal, but. This was Davin's idea to do like kind of like a count there to lead us back in. There's another. There it is. So I think we cut two of those. I had a little like that little Yamaha Nippengaki. It's like I got hip to those because of Josh Autumn. It's like a little like 5-inch amp, solid state, got spring reverb in it, and then you could just crank it, and that's all that was. It was just
Yeah.
max gain.
That and the Trident was getting pretty
Right.
blown up too.
That's right. Lots of
Lots of
things.
distortion.
This is Tabor's line. He wrote this.
Don't know why.
Let's give David some shine. Paul McCartney-esque. He's always like got melody in mind. So let's see here. Here's one. There's one, right? A clean one and a dirty one. My favorite part is the very end of
Oh,
it.
okay,
I go,
keep going.
I said something like, that shit was pretty ripping. I remember when we got it mastered, they were like, do you want to leave that in there? I was like, hell yeah. Let's see, what else? Maybe let's jump into Conspiracy, and then we'll move on to the Chicago Underground side.
Okay.
This is another tune that Tabor and I wrote the lyrics to. Not an easy song for me to sing.
I walked as far as my feet could go. I climbed the mountain cause I had to know if what I saw on the TV show was as real as the ground below. They said it loud and it spoke to me, not to believe what I couldn't see. And who's selling you? Conspiracy. Who's selling me? Conspiracy. And who's selling
Everybody on
you?
one mic.
Conspiracy.
Because everybody,
Who's selling me? Conspiracy.
we were just all in the same room together. Put that thing in Omni, I think, right? The old,
Yep.
the Perlman, the TM1. Pour one out for the Perlman.
Yep. Goodbye, Perlman.
I kissed my mama and told her the truth. I hugged my daddy and gave him the news. The grass ain't green and the sky ain't blue. You only know what's been taught to you. And all the teachers at the school.
Every time I turn
that
on the news and I hear somebody saying something stupid, I think of this song.
Who's selling you?
Where's Devin? Like, what, 2 takes or something? David was like, okay, I got it. And he like left the space open, cut the next one, and was like, okay, that's it. Yeah, still a banger. All right, let's move on to the Chicago Underground side. This should
Is
be,
there one more tune or?
yeah, but
Okay.
you know,
All right.
brevity is the soul of wit, as Shakespeare said.
All right. Whatever.
Whoever that is, he wasn't even Shakespeare. You know what I'm talking about? These goddamn conspiracies. They're every like there is no truth anymore. It's just me, as John Lennon said, Yoko and me. This side's gonna be interesting because we didn't have any time to set it up. Did you do it?
I
you do
didn't. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So here on like we've got these.
You want it? Yeah.
We got this tape here. I don't know. It's upside down. This is how records are made here, and they are still made this way sometimes with some people. But you just get some like artist tape, put it on your board, send your music out to it. Even if you have a crappy mixer, it's more fun to mix than doing stuff in the computer. The reason why a lot of people do stuff in the computer is because their clients suck and they want like 2 decibel louder vocal on one. They want all this stupid stuff that's not going to make their shitty song any better. And so, the guy who mixes all that Red Hot Chili Peppers stuff, he's like, it's no difference between analog and digital. Well, come on. I'm not a purist. I just, I want it to feel good. And mixing on a console is just more fun. Also, I don't know what it is, but there is something about sending out audio to aux sends, meaning like, we've got like a plate reverb here, we've got a tape echo, and that you could send out a sound to one of those effects and bring it back in and then pan it. Man, I'm telling you, it's totally different. When I do that in a computer, it feels like it, like a sound blob. It when I do it on a console, it feels like it's in a space, and then it's just so much easier. And I don't know if it's just there's so much that I don't know, but I don't know if it's just like how much faster it is to like pull a fader or pan something, but it's like it's done. And on trying to mix on a computer, for me, I have to qualify everything. For me, this is what I believe. What the fuck do I know? I only make like 100 records or whatever. But for me, because all the guys with one song out there are like, no, that's not how it goes. When I made my song, I made a song before breakfast, okay? But for me, there's something different happening there. And also there is a kind of like high wire act when you're like mixing this way because you kind of need it to sound good quick, so you have to get good quick. And I mix like records in like a couple days, and I would never be able to get them done if everything was like open to constant revision. It sort of has to be like, ideally, like a mix is like a band playing a song. It's like that's what they sounded like when they performed. And a mix for me is what that song sounded like when I mixed it with whatever I was doing in that moment. And the great thing about that is that you could go back and I'd mixed a record for Jeremiah Lloyd Harmon, and he called me the other day. He was like, the first mix was better. He's like, I don't know why I told you change this or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the cool thing is like you still have that other mix. Like that is its own thing, and you captured it, and now it's gone, never to return. And that's okay. I don't know why everybody is so, it's got to be the fear of death, which is why God exists. But people don't, they're so obsessed with perfection and permanency, but you can't be. It's a fool's errand, like we're, even as a species, we're not even going to be here very long. So it is what it is in that moment. Be comfortable with that and let it go, or just, just do something else, I mean, people love, being accountants and shit, I guess. Do that. So anyway, the Chicago Underground side, how did this come about? I think I've made a bunch of records with Chad Taylor on drums. We probably, made a dozen records or more so far together. And at some point, I think I talked to him about trying to get, him and Chad and Jeff and Rob together. And we just kind of kept talking, and Chad said something along the lines of like, well, if anybody could get us all back together, it would be you. And so I kind of ended up kicking the idea around that the pretense to get them together was to be my backing band. But I also knew that I could kind of grease the wheels a little bit if the whole thing didn't really, if there was no financial hurdles. So I flew Rob out. Jeff doesn't live far. Chad was already here to make some records for some other folks. And we did 2 days. I think this was, I could be wrong, but I want to say this was July of 2018. Just a few months after we cut the Cherry Glazerr stuff, I think. And what I will remember most about that is the church that owns the building that Big Ego is in did some construction work on the roof, and they disconnected our air conditioning but didn't tell me. So I just thought that our AC didn't work. And we did, like a whole month of sessions without any working air conditioning in the middle of a heat wave in like Southern California summertime. So we did 2 days, one day where the Underground was my band, and then one day where I produced their new album, Good Days, which came out on Astral Spirits earlier this year. And we did both of those sessions with no AC.
Lots of sweat.
So we were drenched.
Sopping wet.
I think we went through 3 or 4 cases of Topo Chico. And I brought in like a portable AC unit from my house that we just put in the lobby, and we would just take turns standing in front of in between takes, and we were just it was so hot that there was this tuning thing with Rob's piccolo trumpet where it was like a few cents off. So every time he and I would try to play a line together, there was just this weird like microtonal thing happening. So that I remember even talking to Jeff about it later on. He's like, yeah, get that AC fixed or something, busting my balls about it a little bit. Rightfully so. So, let's see. What about Your Dreams Don't Pay My Bills? Can we pull that up?
Yeah, the labeling on this one.
A little funky.
Yeah, so we'll just, which, do we know sort of when we tracked that one? For the later.
Oh.
You know, actually, this one has a label, so we're good.
Oh, yeah. We'll take it as it comes.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
This is Dream State, Police State. No sweat. No, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's give Rob some plate reverb. Oh yeah, strings. So that was another interesting thing for me on this side. I felt like in a way, you know, the easy thing to do with a band like this was like, oh, let's just do a jazz improv, you know, or instrumental kind of freak out. But I don't, you know, we had a few things lined up and it just didn't end up going that way. Anthony Shattuck on bass. Some of Shattuck's best playing of his life, I think. Everything he did was incredible. And that was the other thing I liked about adding the strings, was that, like, it didn't seem like a Chicago underground thing to do. The desire for a lot of this stuff was not to, like, make the band work for me, you know? Does that make sense? Like, it was I didn't want to trade off of their reputations. I wanted to kind of manipulate it or change it or challenge them and myself, you know? I didn't want to just be like, oh, cool, like, I got these guys in a room and now I just, like, make them do their thing for me, you know? It had to be something new. Phil Glenn doing all these string arrangements. And I believe this session, Camilo engineered this, I think, with me. And this was Dave Tranquina, Chrissy Johnson, and Phil on just a little string trio. And some of the stuff we double tracked, I think. So that's a tune that was originally from the very first Psychic Temple record. Dream State, Police State, 10 years ahead of time again, as if we're not in a police state right now.
Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, I mean, we don't know what we're going to jump into, so should we just
I don't care.
jump into one?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Let's ride. Do it live.
1, 2, 3.
Lightning. Wrote this with the brilliant and cantankerous Jerry David DeSica. Man, can we... This is my OG guitar track. We never retracked this.
Valleys full of tears, and it was collecting there for years. I turned around.
Jerry wrote the lyrics. I just kind of told him what the spirit of the song was, and it was like no revisions, you know, just like he nailed it immediately. Oh yeah, Jeremiah on backing vocals.
Shot to the dark, 7 miles away. Lightning
vocals, maybe on organ on this one. Just two.
Whirly?
Oh, Whirly maybe. Okay.
So in our deepest sleep, we wrote a song.
You can tell it's Chad. Like it doesn't matter what he plays. Leanne and Jesse on backing vocals. You got to do this, right? It's classic albums.
7 miles away.
Lightning inside of us.
Ooh, almost making me sound like I can sing. That's how good they are.
Oh, you can sing, Chris.
Okay, this is an interesting thing. These guys are coming out here. So I did this at the last minute. I'd been singing this melody every time I would play this bridge, which I always wanted it to be an instrumental bridge, but there's actually a piccolo trumpet solo in there. Can we run it back? And I don't know if it's easy to
Let's see if I
to
can
grab.
find it.
Rob did an incredible solo. He did a couple actually that just like blew me away. And my feeling kind of, he's on 12.
Yeah, it should be 12, and then
But my feeling was that ultimately it was pushing. It was one of those things where I was talking about earlier, the breadcrumbs. Like I almost felt like, I'm asking a lot of the audience at this point, especially a tune which I feel like has some kind of naughty, gnarly like harmony in it in the chord progression anyway.
do you want me to bring that back?
Yeah, can we?
Yeah.
And then I'll mute my guitars. Listen to this shit.
Was that after the Thai food?
Yes.
Infamous Thai food.
That's what I figured out with Rob. You got to ply him with the spiciest Thai food, and you will get straight fire. He did nothing but he killed for like 3 hours straight. Everything he did was just, I mean, he's a master, you know, but. That's a good tune. Still. Yeah, what do we have to do to, like, you know, make money off of that song? I don't know. You're in the wrong business, son.
Yep.
All right, let's just see what's next.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, this is your dream.
Your dreams don't pay my bills. And all the thrills that we had are gone. I don't know.
Chad on brushes on this one.
Maybe I knew it
I started writing this
all
tune
along.
when I was driving like an Uber as the driver. Within the first year or so of opening the studio, you know, we had no money and we just weren't getting enough clients. And I was having to drive, you know, these lunatics around. And I wrote this song lyrically from my wife's standpoint, from Adriana's standpoint of like, hey, look, your dreams don't pay my bills, and so therefore I was out there driving to pay the bills. You know, I would work all day here, and then I would go out and drive at night just to make ends meet. And I think maybe I really wanted this tune to almost feel like an old Torch song or a standard or something. That's a bit of a Psychic Temple staple. Acoustic and electric double. Except I don't always have Jeff to be the electric. His solo here, he did this live in the room. Listen to this. Jeff Parker, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. That's a hard chord progression to solo over in the first place, and then to try to make it sound lyrical and to give it the whole thing an arc. And that was live. Like, he cut that live in the room with everybody. Phil on the whirly. Shattuck on double bass. I had to bring in a couple of Psychic Temple ringers to fill it out a little, you know. Yeah. All right, maybe one more tune on this side. Where are we at? Baguette is sending me texts. He said this is a legit Schlarb hang for everyone. I'm trying, man. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Oh yeah, Love Falls. So James Toth and I wrote this tune in the hopes that Terry Reid would be singing it, and that hasn't happened yet. I have not given up on that happening, but yeah, James, man. Great songwriter, Wooden Wand, all of his solo stuff, James Jackson Toth. He's got a new podcast, The Toth Zone. Every once in a while I sing in, you know, in like a certain key, and I'm like, hey, this sounds good. And I think all real singers do that, but I don't. I just every once in a while stumble into a key. I think this one's in G.
Back home or running away feels like the same thing.
Yeah, still my OG acoustic. I think that was an Electro Voice 666 before we got, it's almost like you shed your skin in a little year. You're like, yeah, well, every few years you're like a new human being, like biologically. It's kind of like that with gear sometimes. This was a tune that when I heard it back when we finished it, I was like, oh, like I basically turned the Chicago Underground into like a mid 70s like LA like Beach Boys session band, which was deeply satisfying. Eamon Fogarty and Heather Summerhauser on backing vocals on this one. All right, we don't have to do Little One because that you know there are some
We
tunes.
might have to cry a little bit if that one comes up.
Yeah, no, there's some tunes. It's there are some that are just kind of like that Werner Herzog thing of like when he, in Grizzly Man when he like hears the dude and then he tells the wife like you cannot let anybody hear this. You know, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have an original recording of me demo like the very first demo of Little One, and it is gut wrenching.
Oh no.
It's gut wrenching. We don't need to do. Why?
Don't even talk about it.
Next. All right. So moving on to side C, Dream Syndicate side. Talk about this a little bit. Steve Wynn is a mensch, and he's the he and Dennis are the kind of the OGs in Dream Syndicate. You know, they've been doing it since late 70s, early 80s. And at some point, Steve just reached out to me. I think he heard Psychic Temple 4 and just said, hey, I really love the record. And if there's an opportunity for us to like play some shows together, I'd love to do that. And he really didn't have to do that at all. You know, I feel like he's sort of in what he did and what people like him do, people like Watt and Nels, like a lot of these you know, dementias, you know, they do things for people not because of what they can get out of it, but because of a genuine joy or love for, you know, music or the people or whatever, and just one of the best cats. So ultimately, when Dream Syndicate did some West Coast shows, they asked Psychic Temple to open for them. We did a couple of dates at like the El Rey and the Independent in San Francisco. And I sprung the idea either before or after those shows of like, okay, I've got this Houses of the Holy concept where, you know, Psychic Temple would like take over the Dream Syndicate, and Steve and Jason were both like, yes. And I was like, I don't know if they really mean it. And so like a few months later, you know, I kind of talking to them about it again, and they're like, let's try to make it happen. And eventually we did. And I flew the whole band out here, put them up for a couple of days. And no joke, the 2 days, I think 2 full days that we spent in the studio, if we'd had like an extra few hours, we could have done an entire record, like just with Dream Syndicate. We had so much stuff, and playing with that band was just like, it reminded me of like, oh, like this is why people like playing electric guitar. Like it's fun, you know?
What was it, like 3 electric guitars basically most of the time? And
I was worried about that. I was worried that it would be like, well, where the hell are you going to put all those guitars, you know? Well, you put one in the middle, you put one on the left, you put one on the right.
There you go. Perfect.
Of course, sometimes when we were mixing with Ronan, you know, who taught me, no joke, almost everything I know about mixing, Ronan Chris Murphy, you know, like he really kind of like held my hand to like, it's okay to like hard pan stuff, and shit doesn't have to be like, you know, 10-2 like granny, you know, granny mixing. And then of course, every subsequent time I go to mix something with him, he does even crazier stuff. Whereas like I was used to the hard panning, and now he's doing like one guitar here, one here, and the other one like right there. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, oh, it just sounded good.
What about LCR, man?
Yeah, what happened? So anyways, we no joke, we cut probably 35 minutes of great stuff. We couldn't fit it all on the album, but there's a long version of On the Slide that's 16 minutes long. It's got this whole kraut kind of like, you know, like revival kind of thing happening at the end. And that was one of the things that I kind of figured out after I saw Dream Syndicate play live. I was like, they're almost like a krautrock band disguised as a rock band, and nobody knows it except them. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of hear Dennis doing, he as a drummer, like he's so interesting because he doesn't have like this kind of like technical facility that maybe somebody like Chad does, or even Tabor perhaps. But he has this thing that like no other drummer I've played with has, which is a kind of like caveman genius. It's like this unhinged thing. Like he was sometimes like look like he was gonna fall off the drum throne, and I'm like, man, this guy's been playing drums forever, and he's still like going ham. Like he wasn't phoning it in any way, shape, or form, and I think that feeling of possibility, everybody on this record, like they all gave it over to, they just like let these things happen. And I don't know, I could talk about the Dream Syndicate stuff forever. I just want to make another record with them. But we even did like a Chris Whitley cover of Hotel Vast Horizon that didn't make the record. I don't think there's any covers on the album. Hopefully when it's safe for us to all get back together, we can just like make another record. Songwriting wise, I think I wrote all the music and Steve wrote lyrics on Then Again, Cherry Avenue, and then we co-wrote the lyrics on Why Should I Wait. So another just like deep, collaboration. Anyway, what do you want to start with? I guess we could play some of that wild extended part of On the Slide if time permits, but
Yeah. Do you want to do like Cherry Avenue? Or is that...
Okay, yeah, let's do Cherry Avenue. This in some ways is kind of like one of the more maximalist moments. It felt like the most Psychic Temple 4 moment on the album, because there's like horns and backing vocals and like layered guitars and two drummers. It's like, okay, now we're cooking. Also, Dennis is almost playing like a samba or like we tried to do it again. He couldn't play it. It was just like, there it is. Jason on guitars. Oh, Steve too. Steve on electric.
People like us, we keep our distance. We're the last ones you would ever suspect. Toying with concepts just beyond our reach. Strangers when we finally connect.
Joel Martin on pedal steel. Yeah. Some horns in there too. Double D horns on this one. Danny Levin, David Moyer.
Standing on the corner.
I had this funny feeling that Steve was going to write a geographic song, and I have a demo that's called Long Beach Boulevard, and he ended up writing one called Cherry Avenue. I was like, man, there was this synchronicity at all angles with them.
I was so afraid to follow through.
Oh, here's our backing vocals. Eamon Fogarty and Heather Summerhauser. Love he goes down and hits that root, everything. Heather has the response.
Everything that you say.
Now, Rob's in here somewhere with a trumpet solo. Okay, I gotta talk about Mark. He's giving me that white-winged dove shit right here. Man, no joke, one of the best bass players in the history of rock music.
Where defiance comes so cheap. Tell me how we got.
Here's our drum situation. So we had Dennis and Tabor in the ISO together, and that's Tabor with that brilliant snare roll. That's a hook for me. Every time, man. I remember we went over this, we did a few run-throughs of this tune, and when that thing kind of started hitting, it was like, oh, that's it. Yeah, I love that tune. What's next?
You want to go to on the slide?
Yeah. Oh Lord. This is the jammer right here. I feel like I was probably a couple of shots of whiskey into the vocal on this one, and I just did the whole thing with this mic, holding it in my hand. The longer backing vocal parts, that was an early pass. Tabor with the shaker. There's just something about that. That fits in. So Leanne Skoda and Jesse Payo singing backing vocals on this one. And I originally wrote this tune thinking that this would be in some spirit, the end result. But Leanne ended up recording it on her album, Call Me Back Home, a few years ago. It's kind of a little Phil moment here. 1, 2. Okay, yeah, then I feel like Jason and Steve Wynn pulled us into like Crazy Horse territory right here, which is like that's a place to be. Steve with the first one. Also, Steve's fills throughout the song are like this incredible, like, I don't know, like Bowie, Carlos Alomar, like funk. It's so good. He's just. This was one of the harder tunes to mix on the record, just because I just wanted to keep mixing it louder all the time. Battery's doing okay? I'm kind of doing this weaving thing here, the cleaner guitar. What's this one? The Whirly? Just a room?
Maybe a room, yeah.
Phil on the organ. I could do a whole record just like this. Then that actually is kind of in the
and you did.
it's in the mind, you know. Oh yeah, look.
Right.
We did a record like this. It's called Houses of the Holy. It's available now. Don't forget, always be closing, Dev. ABC.
Right.
Or else you don't get the Glengarry leads.
All right. Houses of the Holy. Buy it now. Do it. Do it now.
Don't you know everything is a commercial now? Nothing
Right,
can just
right.
exist.
Yeah.
Everything's a transaction.
Sponsored by Topo Chico.
Yeah. I feel like I better pull back, man. The Fatso's putting in work.
Now it sounds like an Instagram stream.
There is no high frequencies. It's funny, we never even patched in the DBXs.
Yeah.
We were literally, but right 20 minutes before we started, we went to go check the tape echo, and the tape had broken. So, you know, I had to swap that out real quick.
You make it sound a lot easier than it was. You
I
said to
was
swap it out
sweating
real
it a little bit. I was like, oh my God. Right now, like, this is why people don't use tape. And it's just one tiny little part, you know. Jason. Brilliant guitar player. Me doing the kind of trying to lock in with Mark, just playing the riff. And you pull back on the overall.
It's so crushed.
This is it gets louder. This is one of my favorite. Now the funny thing is, so Dev and I mixed the Cherry Glazerr side together, and then I would say that Dev, Ronan, and I mixed the Xololanxinxo side together, and then Ronan and I mixed the Chicago Underground and the Dream Syndicate sides, and then ultimately, even after all that, I took all of it and made weird little master tapes, literally to 4-track, cassette tapes, and I mixed the whole record back down off of a Tascam 246. All right, these are the bonus beats, as they would say in on like a hip hop 12-inch. We went full like Noi or Goblin or something.
Noi Goblin?
Noi Goblin. That's the new band. The new Goblin. This shit's killing too, because they turned the beat around. These motherfuckers, man. If you were to buy the record, you could pull it out, and there's a little key that will show you who's who. I don't know which camera's happening, but let's just say that it's mine.
That one.
This one? Yeah. Boom. So you got your key and the gold ink. And you too can follow along with all 50 musicians that are on the album. but literally can't say enough great things about Mark Walton as a musician and bass player. I think he's kind of the secret sauce of the band in a way. I mean, they're all kind of indispensable, but wow, it sounds like somebody from Clifton joined the Psychic Temple. Oh, do, 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 do. Playing electric guitar is fun.
It's like deep in the session when everybody's getting nice and warmed up, and it's just kind of like getting settled in, and I don't know. It's always nice to kind of like hear that happen.
Yeah. Well, if I remember right, we did a few takes of this, and it was a long jam, you know. And if I remember correctly, and this was kind of a hallmark throughout, is that we would do something, we'd kind of move closer to it, and then Steve would always kind of have this thing of like, well, I think the other one was good.
Yeah.
You know, he did that on Then Again. And even on the final take, you can see it in the video, because I cut the audio back in. Mm-hmm. Mark goes, "Is that it?" And I go, "Yeah, that's it." And then everybody looks at Steve and he goes, "I don't know." I was like, that was it. Blowing it out. What about that soft? It was just our rhythm section. 2 drums and bass. God, what a joy. It was a lot of work to make that session happen, but worth every ounce. Let's try it. Let's pull up Why Should I Wait? See what that sounds like. World premiere, the 15-minute version of On the Slide with me talking through it.
Yeah. Was Why Should I Wait the first tune that was recorded? Do we know?
I have no idea.
It has all the backing vocals, so I'm assuming.
Okay.
That's the one. That's the one.
If I had to guess, I would say yes.
All right. We're about to find out.
I hope this is interesting to anybody.
I think it is. I'm seeing some comments.
People are commenting. That means people are watching.
Yep.
Should I wait for a moment that's
Never to come. They made me sound like Cheap Trick, man. That's all I wanted. just the guitars and bass. 2, 2. There's a solo in here somewhere. Jason, Victor. Dude, your shit's all compressed. Well, that's a wild and woolly mix of that song right now.
Oh yeah.
God, I love that tune. Woo! All right. Let's see here. We're approaching 2:30. Let's move on to the Xololanxinxo side.
All right.
Man, time flies when you're trying to hawk your double album.
Buy it now, right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I don't know what else to do than to say we made this beautiful thing. You could have it for as long as you live. It only costs like $30. There's 2 records in here. I mean, you can't have this one because these are gone. Also, this one is mine.
It only took 4 years to
It
make.
only took 4 years. It cost me, I don't know, $15,000 or $20,000. It could only cost you $30. Wouldn't you rather pay $30 than $15,000 or $20,000? What are you, an idiot? Are you me? Are you a moron? Are you in 2020 making double albums with real people on real vinyl that cost a lot of money that nobody buys when Spotify is giving you 0.00036, that might be high, cents per stream?
Hey, that's a pretty good rate.
That's my personal rate. I just took a 0 off. All right, so here we go. I think this side, the Xololanxinxo. Anyway, buy the record, if you would, please. I mean, look at what we're doing. This is the world's most expensive commercial for a double album ever made at Big Ego. It's going to be time for some DT after this.
Definitely some DT.
I'm going to do a contest in the next few days. Guess how many Del Taco bags I have in my car.
Sounds like a good contest.
No one will know the answer to that. So
We should also do guess how many Topo Chicos were consumed during the recording of this album.
I mean, I don't even know the answer.
Yeah.
Maybe. I do. Do you? I know you don't. What? Which of the Cholo sides do you have up? Do you have the string side?
The it says in this life.
Yeah.
Streets of Art.
Let's do Streets of Art.
Okay.
And can you bring it in a little ahead?
Yeah.
Of the tune, because I think there's some great like string kind of. So we cut all this stuff. Okay. 90% of it was cut live with everybody in the studio, but we did another round of string overdubs to pad it out and some horn overdubs. But when we were cutting the record, it was like, the whole rhythm section out in the live room, Daniel, Xololanxinxo in the control room. And I would just run back and forth and say, like, do we have enough bars? He was like, I need 4 more bars for this part. And we would go back out and, like, literally add those bars. I'd tell the band, like, okay, we need to add 4 more bars. It's just, like, the wildest. I felt like I was going to pass out the whole time. It was I don't recommend making a record like that at your own studio with your own music and a bunch of people that you consider to be like musical heroes at your elbow. So yeah, the cool thing about this was that we literally had the strings cutting their parts at the same time as everybody else. And one of the great things about that, we try to do that as often as possible because it just helps. It helps them work the parts out. It just sounds better. Can we roll it back ahead of that a little bit?
Sure. Is it this tune?
You can probably hear the fan running in there.
Yeah.
No, that's In This Life. We should finish with that one.
Yeah.
Let's do Streets of Art. But bring me in a little ahead, because if I remember right, there was like Phil and like Chris McCarthy. So we got strings across 4 channels?
I think
11, 12, 13, 14?
I guess so. Is it just, yeah, I guess so. Check.
Stuart Liebig on bass. Woo! This is a crew right here. Danny Frankel on percussion.
Is this the right zone? Are we gonna get the good banter?
Is it good? Does it kind of, the track's almost over,
It's
right?
almost over,
Yeah. We must have just been running through that section. Me on 12 string.
I think it's just starting.
Fine.
I don't see any banter.
Shattuck with the solo here. Chris McCarthy's holding down the bass line on cello. Kathleen Pineda on piano. Yeah. Christian Fellowship Chorale. Jeff Parker on rhythm guitar here.
They say the streets will eat you, chew you up where the corners greet you. Watch you walk across in the shallows of the lost, trying to battle through the last fallen angels of our past. In cold addiction, blurred lines in your suspicion. The rhythm is the rebel, so we revel in resistance. As I walk in the shadows of death, acrylic dreams, dripping breath, golden gates for the slept. Plant my soul in tribal rhythms, not mechanically bent. Rinse.
Just the strings. Phil Glenn on all the arrangements here. Damn, that sounds good. We ended up kind of padding out the strings a bit with an overdub session just because there was so much drum bleed into the strings, even in the ISO booth.
Exodus ring.
Frankel. Parker's solo. This shit was so wild cutting this. The whole time I'm just like, I'm gonna pass out. Like everything was like trying to coordinate that many people and like it didn't exist, you know? And then all of a sudden,
There it is.
it's like Technicolor,
Yeah.
you know? Widescreen, Panavision.
They say the streets defeat you, shake you up where the sidewalk beats you. Watch you chase your soul into fantasies of gold and the passages of old, like the clouds of grass.
I feel like I should sort of explain, like, I was working on another record with Daniel Rodriguez, with Xololanxinxo, and he overheard me talking about wanting to do like a David Axelrod inspired thing. And I said, you know, something with like strings and choir and horns and big band. And he's like, oh, I want to get in on that. And I was like, that's going to cost a lot of money. He's like, well, how much? I was like, I don't know, at least $10,000, like all just for the people. And a week later, he showed up with a Ziploc bag filled with $10,000 cash. And here we go.
And this is the result.
I think I had 2 weeks to write the music.
City blocks rocked by aerosol, Hampton still disjoint. Flesh and flow, fresh for show, skeleton mayhem. Dab in the day grabs.
All right, Kathleen. I love this thing, like Frankel knocks something over, like on purpose. Ooh, Stewart Lee Big. Trusted accomplice in all musical endeavors for almost 2 decades now. Wow. Okay, my only guitar solo on the record. 12-string, the whole band is playing.
Don't fuck it up, Chris. Don't fuck it up, Chris.
Exactly, don't fuck it up. Which is all I could think. And I'm playing this 12-string, you know? It's just like, I don't play 12-string solos. And I'm like, all right, let's put a bunch of tape echo on it. So if I do fuck up.
Much better.
There are some good licks in here, though. That's a good one. Stewart picking me up. Tabor on drums on this one with Frankel on percussion. Let's listen to the rhythm section. Oh, hold up, after this band. God,
Dirty.
it's so
So
good.
dirty.
Stewart with those Dr. Dre bass lines. Woo. And if people don't know about Xololanxinxo, go back, take a listen to Farmer's Market of the Beast, take a listen to that early of Mexican descent stuff. I mean, a true legend of the LA underground hip hop scene. Maybe it remind me a little of Four Hero. I don't know if anybody remembers that band, but they were a British kind of almost like drum and bass dance group. I loved that band. Tons of strings.
Is this the banter you're talking about?
That'll work.
All right.
What about In This Life?
All right.
The final tune on the record. I kind of felt like you can't have a song after that. Like that has to be the end.
Mm-hmm.
I wash away bad days with sun rays and soil at my feet. I breathe in the trees, the plants, and the leaves, feast freedom. The river gives and replenishes.
Kathleen
The air
Pineda.
is fresh with
Listen to this.
spring
Listen to
melodies.
this. Bum, 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 bum. Bidoo, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. It's just like, Alice Coltrane and Bill Evans,
What is that?
mind meld. What?
Excuse me, can you please explain to me what
Everybody's
that is?
like constantly tripping on Kathleen. This is another thing that kind of gets lost. Jeff's kind of overdriven lead. My little acoustic guitar just trying to creep in here. Like, please, just let me get a little.
I transmit through the clouds, proud to be awake, I dream. Crawl on the altar of nature, share the earth for the greater. Bloom in the eyes of our future, nurtured in the drops of water. Dance in the rhythm, be true. Absolutely beautiful, you.
I think me, Stuart, and Jeff kind of all getting in on this like triplet kind of. Tyner laying it in. Trumpet. Woo, Stewart's lead in. Oh my God. Oh, Frankel's crash smash thing. Dude. Tabor's drum part, just kicking it overhead. That's it. This is like one of those perfect moments where it's kind of like you hear something back and you're like, I always wanted to hear a record like this, and I like made it. Stewart with those like dive bombs. Okay, listen to the way that Kathleen gets out of this solo. She does this crazy, like, left-hand bass line ostinato. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Now we're out. And then the handoff to Phil. Phil was very mad at me that I made him take a solo after Kathleen. But he stepped it up.
Yep.
That's why I did it. Ooh, this shit's banging. What a dream team. Every time it's like, oh, who's that? Oh, well, that's another legend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, yeah, Franco with the tape measure. Listen to that.
Is that really a tape
That's
measure?
a tape measure. Three, 4, 5, 6. All right, well, it ends the record. It should end the live stream. Hour and 45 minutes. That, we don't know what we're doing, so that seems pretty good. I just want to thank Dev for doing all the stuff that my brain couldn't handle, making it even sound remotely good. I get to look cool because I'm in front of the console, but he did all the work to make it so that it would even be listenable. And then Tristan and Matt, who are running the live stream, they've got a thing that they do called Aux Return, AUXRTN, which is a live stream YouTube series that they do here from the studio a couple of times a month. So I saw what they were doing with that, and I was like, oh, I want to get in on that. And I just want to thank them for running the live stream. If it sounds and looks great, it's because of them. And then the opposite is also true. If it doesn't,
It's them.
it's also them.
And it's
so
not
look,
me
you just
either.
gotta take a stand in this world and have some dignity. Anyway, please, thanks, please and thanks.
Please
What
and
am I, like
thanks.
5 years old? Please and thank you. Here's Psychic Temple, Houses of the Holy. Yes, I ripped off Led Zeppelin. No, you're not a genius because you recognize the name. So many people are like, oh, that name's taken. I know, dummy. That's why. Anyway, you never heard of Let It Be by the Replacements? There's precedent.
Right?
It's like, them trying to
Everybody's
rush through the
ripping off
Supreme Court
everybody.
nomination. There's no precedent. Remember 20? Okay, anyways,
Yep.
let's not get
Yeah,
into
yeah.
that. Anyhow, thanks to Carl and Allison and David and everybody over at Joyful Noise for putting this record out and putting up with me, and to the bands and everybody who's watching, both of you, my mom and my wife. I just want to thank you both for being, there for me in my moment of live streaming. Please, if you can pick up the record, go to a record shop or go to Bandcamp. I'm on Instagram, I think, Schlarb, or no, Psychic Temple on Instagram. I don't know. On Twitter, it's just my last name, Schlarb. So anyways, thanks everyone. If you already bought the record, thank you so much. It's a dream for me to just be able to keep fooling everybody to make a living making music. pretty soon it's going to catch up with me, but I'm doing the best I can while I got it. So thanks to everyone. Thanks for watching, and that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
All right. Thank you, guys. Woo, dude.
Yeah.
How'd that
Congratulations,
go?
man.